Hello and welcome to You Talk Too Much, the podcast where I turn my incessant chatter into a platform for insightful conversation. Today I am joined by the wonderful, the incredible actor, YouTuber, extraordinaire and all-round good guy, David Krisopher-Brown. How are you, David?
I'm good, man. I'm really happy to be doing this. That was so professional.
Thanks, mate. I've practiced it all morning.
It's great. I've got goosebumps.
Yeah, no, I've been practicing it, see what happens come in. But yeah, so David, for everyone listening and watching, tell us a little bit about yourself to start with.
So, my name is Dave. I'm an actor / singer, but I guess I would say actor. Currently playing Ubaldo Piangi in The Phantom of the Opera in London, which has been amazing and fun. And yeah, I'm a dad and a husband. I think that's about it.
Yeah.
For the short version.
Yeah, the short version. We'll get into the nitty gritty and stuff. But let's go back to the start then, right to young Dave. So where did it all begin? Where is what one would call home, I suppose, right at the start?
I grew up just outside Glasgow in a place called Cumbernauld. What's it called? Cumbernauld. That was that for anyone who doesn't know, that was like the catchphrase on all the adverts for Cumbernauld. So yeah, my whole family were kind of from there. My parents grew up there, and then we moved to like a sort of a rurally farmish type area called Greenfoot, which is like really small. And it has like 4 houses and a level crossing, and that's it. And so yeah, I kind of grew up there. And when I was a kid, I was loud and energetic. And my mum's best friend, or one of the best friends, lived next door, and they sent their kids to like the Cumbernauld Theatre junior theatre group. So my mum was like, "You should do that because you can go and be loud somewhere else." And I loved it.
And that's where the bug for acting
Yeah.
started.
And I guess so we did a production of Pinocchio and everyone was double cast. And then I played Lampwick, the bad kid that gets turned into a donkey.
Yeah.
And the person who was doing that alongside me left for some reason, and they didn't give me another. They were like, "Oh yeah, fine, we trust you." So I was even young. I was like, "Oh, I guess I must be all right at this."
And so you end up doing all the shows
I
then?
did all of it, yeah. But it was like halfway through they switched. It wasn't you only learned half, so it wasn't we did the whole show and
So it
then
wasn't
someone
like
else.
alternating shows.
No, it was like Act 1 and Act 2.
Oh, wow.
It was so bizarre.
Yeah.
I think they must have done it with some like magic spell, and everyone just changed over.
It's a good way to get everyone involved though.
Yeah. Oh, totally. And also, when you're that young, it's better to have everyone learn a smaller section as well.
Yeah.
So I get why they did that,
A
but
bit easier in the brains.
yeah, and we only did Saturday mornings.
Yeah. So did your parents involved in the arts?
No, not at all.
What were they doing? What were they?
So my dad trained as a history teacher, but realised he didn't like that, and has done a bunch of different stuff. Drove an ice cream van for a while, but he was a caterer,
Right.
for most of his life, and now he's retired. And my mum, it was the easiest way to describe this. She's amazing, and my dad's amazing too, but my mum, was the director of a company who did supported living for people with disabilities, basically.
Wow.
And now she has her own company where she is a consultant for other companies that do that.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, very hands on as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
So the love of performing and stuff that just
Yeah.
was in you. Is there
They-
anyone else in the family, like any influential
I'm
individuals or
told
anything?
that like my granddad's granddad was an opera singer or something.
Well, that makes sense.
I guess.
Yeah.
But like that was literally like once I was told that, and I was like, oh, I'd like to find out about that, and no one could ever tell me anything about it. So I don't really know if where the basis
into
of that
place,
actually
yeah.
is. But yeah, nothing else really. I mean, my family liked theatre, and they would go and they would take me, and
Yeah.
I remember we always used to listen to the Les Mis soundtrack in the car for like since I was very, very young. So it was around a lot, but yeah, no one's ever really done it. I think just before I went to drama, or maybe it was after I went to drama school, my mum's company put on pantos and she was in it and I was in it, and then some of like the clients who they supported were in it. It was amazing. We did a few years of it at the Grand Ole Opry in Glasgow.
What a venue.
Incredible venue. And it was just the feeling of that was amazing, and getting to do it with my mum as well was awesome. But yeah, like not it was kind of almost like, because I was into it, she was like, oh, that'll be fun. But yeah.
So you're there on your Saturdays doing your youth drama, I
Yeah,
guess,
sort of like, yeah.
When did you think or know you could then either pursue it as a career? Was it always in the back of your mind, or was it a thing you kind of, again, just followed the path of education? And
that's actually a really good question. I think there was I did it for a time where I was like just really into it, but it was very much a hobby. And then I kind of didn't, maybe like third, fourth year at high school. So what's that, like 14, 15?
Yeah, well, 15.
I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And I was kind of like, I was too old for those classes, but I wasn't doing like am drama or anything like that. I was kind of like saying that I wanted to do it, but not really doing it. And then as I got into high school and my voice broke and I started singing, which I hadn't really done before, I guess people started going, you could actually do this.
Yeah.
And then I started doing like am drama in the evening. So I would be doing like school all week and then have like 2 or 3 different am drams I'd go to in the week.
Wow.
Excuse me. So yeah, so that I guess from like maybe 15, 16, onwards, I was like, and also I went to see bigger productions that would come on tour and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, these people are getting paid for this. That's very cool.
Yeah. So when talk about school and stuff, did you enjoy school? Was school a good time?
I did. I kind of felt like
a lot of people have this, like, when you think about it, you're like, it was all right, but actually, it's a weird.
It was kind of like killing time. Like
Yeah.
And you know, like not that I didn't enjoy it, and there was lots of things like the performance side of it, of like music department and stuff.
So
and
I guess you did drama and stuff at
yeah,
school.
we didn't really do shows, but we did
Right.
like review shows.
Yeah.
And because of like being one of the only men who would sing, I
Yeah.
got so much to do, which
Yeah.
was great. But because of that, we didn't really have the numbers to put on like a musical or whatever. But I did enjoy it, but I kind of felt like I was just waiting till I was old enough to like apply for drama school, or
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? There was a lot of subjects that I was like, I'm going to try and do this, but doesn't really serve me. I used to get into trouble for talking a lot.
Well,
And-
how apt
Yeah.
to be on a podcast
Do you know what I mean?
named as such.
Exactly.
Me and you both.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I did enjoy it. I didn't have a bad time at all. And I still keep in touch with some of my teachers. Like,
Great.
yeah.
Yeah.
15, 20 years later.
Yeah.
So it's just wild.
How does that make you feel that you've just said
So,
that out loud?
like, I was a bit sick in my mouth when I said it.
So when you were, obviously, you're now into high school, you're in 4th year, I guess, did you stay on for 5th and 6th year?
Yeah.
And cut right through?
Weirdly,
It's a bit different for any English listeners, or
Yeah.
the way it works in Scotland.
I guess the college is the last 2 years in
Yeah.
England, but you can leave from like essentially when you would go to college.
yeah.
But I stayed for 5th year. I think I auditioned for Knightswood,
Right.
and I didn't get in, and I was gutted about it. And so then I did 5th year. Then I auditioned for Motherwell for their musical theatre course. Got in, was fully prepared to go, and literally, and I have.
And that would replace your 6th year?
That would replace my 6th year,
Yeah.
but I would do the 2-year course.
Yeah.
And for some reason, and I honestly still don't know why to this day, like 2 days before, I just didn't enroll, and I went back to school, and I was like, this doesn't feel right, which is so bizarre.
But then
as someone who was only waiting
to do
that, like,
bit of fate, bit of the universe, maybe.
I don't know. I don't know why.
So you still have no idea why?
I genuinely can't even
And
tell
is
you.
it something you think about quite often?
Not often, but like it has crossed my mind a few times.
Yeah, it's that thing of like, what would have happened if?
Totally.
But then look what happened when you didn't.
Totally. I'd be in a totally different place, which, yeah, it's bizarre. And I guess maybe I was just scared. Maybe I just didn't want like the change at that time.
Yeah.
And then by the time the end of 6th year happened, you can't stay at school anymore.
Yeah. It's almost a comfort blanket, isn't it?
Yeah.
Having the regularity of waking up Monday to Friday, going to school.
Yeah.
We said wasting time, but at the same time, it's like routine, isn't it? It's
100%. And still learning from, the music department and English department and all those things where you're doing the things that you love in different ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I honestly, it still baffles me that happened, actually.
So then did you ever, so from 6th year then, so you're finishing school,
Yeah.
you're what, 17, 18?
Yeah.
Did you then audition for drama schools then?
Yeah, I auditioned for Mount View, Central, which I didn't get recalled for, Royal Academy, Conservatoire now.
Yeah, so RSMD.
RSMD at the time, for the acting course, and they were like, you should go and study musical theatre. I was like, all right, fine. And then I think I had booked one for Arts Ed, but I got into Mount View before my Arts Ed, so I ended up just not going because I really liked the vibe there. So I went to Mount View. But yeah, I went in the... Which is so funny. Like, I didn't want change, and then I was like, I'm just going to move to London instead.
It is, but a year's a long time as well.
Yeah.
And maybe actually, to go into it, maybe you wanted the bigger change, and maybe Motherwell wasn't a big enough change within you that you weren't unconsciously.
Yeah, or maybe that extra 6 months or whatever made me ready. Oh yeah, or maybe that was the change that in my head I was preparing myself for from the beginning. I don't know.
And that little extra bit of knowledge, or maybe I don't know, at 5th and 6th year. I mean, I went to Knightswood.
Yeah.
But, I wouldn't have known about. I say I wouldn't have known. I don't know if I would have been as knowledgeable on the drama schools that are available around the United Kingdom and abroad. Of
course.
I probably would never have even sniffed at RCS, which is where I ended up going.
Really?
Simply because I think, and I'm speaking out for myself here, but I think as a young actor in Scotland, you do just have this. Well, I think you're steered toward this London dream, but the Scottish scene is massive, and Glasgow and Edinburgh, it's just about the two cities, but there's obviously Dundee and everywhere but Pitlochry. The art scene and the theatre scene and film scene and television scene in Scotland is massive.
It's wild.
And I think, here we are as two Scots in London.
I know.
But I think that it's, having then went to the Conservatoire, I'm very much glad I did, but still most of my auditions were down in London.
Yeah. I think certainly when I auditioned, there wasn't a musical theatre course at RCS.
Yeah. Right.
And I think that there was a scene, but certainly not for film, and it probably wasn't as big, and they weren't doing, like, I mean, National Theatre Scotland was a thing, but it wasn't like what it is now.
Very new.
Yeah, you know, and it was almost quite like, I mean, they still push boundaries, but it was almost quite like, weird is not the right word, but like it was really challenging people's. Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't like
just out there.
Exactly, but it wasn't doing like the Scottish version of Game of Thrones. You know what I mean, or whatever. Yeah. Like, it just wasn't that. So, to be fair though, I would have been really happy to do acting at RCS at the time. But it's you're right. Certainly at that time, it was very much like, if you want to do musical theatre, you have to be in London. The only musicals that come to Scotland are the ones that are on tour. And they rehearse in London.
Whereas now, fast forward X amount of years, there's stuff coming out everywhere.
Totally. But also, there was Dundee Rep, and there was Pitlochry, and there was all those things, and they just never told you about that stuff.
Yeah, you know, I suppose at school, as in like educational level, in the drama department, you're not really learning about what's going on around you, are you? And it's not to say that that's a bad thing or detrimental. I think it's the way the curriculum is. You're there to learn about the play or the prose piece or the staging of it.
Your craft.
Yeah, you're not there to learn about how to be a professional actor.
It would be good to have a bit of that though.
Yeah, and I think more schools are probably having more access. A lot of theatre companies are giving access to schools and getting people involved, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, the apprenticeship schemes in film and TV in Scotland just now, I know that Outlander had loads for years, and I'm assuming they still do, even though they're coming to their final season.
Yeah, totally. And Dundee Rep.
Dundee Rep have got everything.
Like
the grad schemes.
And all that.
Yes.
Like incredible people.
Yeah. It's just the scene is massive. And well, I think we're both very much advocates for that Scottish scene.
100%.
Here we are though, yeah.
Yeah.
But it is a thing. I think you go where the work is, don't you? I think that's the beauty of being an actor as well. And you can travel, and yes, there's ups and downs and all that, which I will get onto because I feel it's very important to talk about. But I think it's important to say that you can still. We'd always go back, wouldn't we?
Absolutely. Oh my God. In fact, if anything, I've I'm not new to my agent now, but our agent.
Yeah.
But when I first signed with my agent, I was very much like, one of the top things on my thing is to like, or the top things on my list would be to go back and do, you know, National Theatre Scotland and all those things.
Yeah. It's plenty of time.
Yeah.
Plenty of time.
It's interesting though, because like work breeds work is something that you hear a lot of the time, and like if you're in an area, you meet people, and if you know you're good at your job and you're a nice person, then there's a chance that maybe just knowing people will be like, oh, that person could do this.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it kind of makes sense if you're in an area for a period of time. And
equally, I battle with this, what I'm going to say, but I also, I'm more steered towards the side of, I completely agree with it, of local talent is absolutely everything, and we should nourish local talent. So if someone wants to make a career up there, then 100%.
Absolutely.
Likewise down here.
Yeah.
If it's, I just don't, obviously, as I say, we can move and you do all that, but I very much agree with casting locally, personally.
No,
I know
100%.
there's a big thing, and like at one point maybe we'll both find ourselves back up there, but for now we are based down here and we are enjoying our life as much as we can. But yeah, so to go into, while we're on the acting subject, setbacks and stuff like that. So you obviously got into drama school first time?
Yeah, I did get in first time.
So you finished school in the June it would be in Scotland?
Yeah, I think it was August. I finished in June and I started in August.
Yeah, so you started late August, early September. Yeah. So you moved down that summer to the big smoke, as it were.
Although
it would have been Wood Green then, wouldn't it?
Yes, it was Wood Green.
Big up Wood Green.
Although I knew some people that were at different drama schools and doing different courses, so I ended up living in Camden.
Right. Okay.
And being so poor that I just got the bus everywhere.
Yeah.
So I had to get up really early and get the 24 bus all the way from Camden to Wood Green.
How long was that?
It was about an hour.
Jeez.
But then you've got to be in for like Ballybar at 8:30, so
this
it's like thing. Very early.
And a lot of friends of mine, I'll never forget, because I went to university at the same time as all them, and they were going to University of Glasgow or Strathclyde Uni, and their freshers was the week before our freshers. So I was like, great.
Yeah.
So I got like 2 freshers, lived with them.
Amazing.
For a week. Then when term started, I vividly remember my friends being like, hey, you about for a drink? You about for a coffee? I was like, no, I'm in like 8 till 6,
Never.
8 till 8.
Yeah.
And it took them very, like, I'd say 2 or 3 weeks to realise that weekends were my thing.
Got you.
But it is wild, the hours you do at drama school.
And like, people who go to like more traditional universities have no idea of, like, they take a list of every class, and if you are not in those classes, you're reprimanded by not being allowed back to more classes, or do you know what I mean? So,
we had a lockout system. It was I'm going to say it was loose. It was a loose system in the sense that, because the way the building is, it's a public building, the library's public, all these things. So if you were locked out, a lot of what I would call the clever students would do would be, right, fine, I've been locked out of that class, but I'm going to prove that I'm going to prove here. And I suppose it's a standard, it's set from day one. Yeah. And even if you're late, sleep in, miss the class, I don't know, there's a number of reasons. Alarm didn't go off, genuinely exhausted, need a day, and you try to get there because I suppose it is quite a guilt-ridden thing. You don't want to miss anything. So to go and sit in the library for 4 or 5 hours and print absolutely every anthology of sheet music, to go and all these things and read plays, I think that's just a standard that's set at most drama schools, I would assume. We can only speak for one that attended.
Absolutely.
I hear the same kind of thing. I know a lot of schools have that system. So I remember a friend of mine was locked out of a class 2 minutes after. Yeah. And actually the thing was, he was in the building, which was the annoying thing. He ran back to a locker to come back to get something, and that was it.
It's a shocker, isn't it? It was like key cards and stuff, and they
would
lock you out.
It was actually even, I think, worse, because the teachers would have to go, no, get out.
Oh no.
And it didn't happen all the time, I will be honest. There was times where like things are,
but then there's a human part to that. And we had something similar. Ours, a lot of it was key cards, but then like, and they would just at a certain time be like, your key card wouldn't work to get in for the day or whatever. Brutal. It was brutal. But there was also the main one was just outside the office, and like the office administrator, who was like best friends with the person who ran the course, and she was lovely. But you know, one of those people that not until you're in third year, she's like the harshest person until you get to third year and she's like, oh, I love you. I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
You're about to stab me in the back. Like,
Yeah.
but she was amazing. But yeah, so you could potentially like knock on the door and be like, look, I was at the car, or whatever. But yeah, that was
Must
like
have been hard for you with buses as well.
Yeah, totally. But then I was so tired, but I just had to leave so much time.
I suppose though, it's that whole thing of like, I notice it a lot in other work that performers, actors, creatives, punctuality is huge.
Huge.
It's just, I think it's that thing we're drilled in about opportunity and don't let it pass you. And
100%.
I think that side of things, that development side of things, I absolutely live for. Like, I love it. It's that, and like routine for me is just,
especially because like whether it's a set or whether it's any other job, you don't want anyone, or I certainly. Maybe it's just my anxious nature. I don't want the reason that we're being held up to be 100%. Because of me. Do you know what I mean? So
it's
I'm
that
like,
team player thing.
I will be there. Yeah.
So like, let's go into routine now. We could go into setbacks, but we'll go to routine since we're here. You're obviously working in the West End now.
Yes.
8 shows a week.
8 shows a week.
Brilliant.
Yep.
Mental. No alternates.
Nope. Not for me.
That actually blows my mind.
Cool.
It's a big thing.
Yeah.
So routine wise, you're into Olympic weightlifting and powerlifting as well. How has your routine adapted from moving to London again? Because we should say you're actually based in Cheshire, aren't you?
At the moment.
And you've moved down for this. How has your routine changed from being in rural Cheshire to into the city with 8 shows a week, midweek matinees at the weekend, fitting your training program in?
It like couldn't be more different. I was just before this. I was working night shifts and looking after so I was working in a freezer in Iceland at night.
As in one of the big walk-in
ones? As in one of the big walk-in ones. So they would come and deliver the stuff at 2 a.m. So we'd have to be there all night, and then we'd bring it all in, put it all out into the walk-in freezer, and then take it from the walk-in freezer into the actual chest freezers that were. So yeah, they'll do the full.
So you'd
night
have
shift.
to into the walk-in, then stock the freezers.
Yeah. Because
I'm guessing there was quite a few of you.
There was a couple of us. So some of us did, and I started doing that, and then I ended up changing over and doing the freezer stuff because they were doing that in the daytime and it wasn't very efficient. But basically, I started off doing online orders. So for the next day, you would just like go and pick everything and put it into like chilled, frozen, and like room temperature stuff, and then they'd all get put in crates, waiting for the delivery drivers to come in the morning to get them.
Just pick them up
and take them out.
So you're doing that night shifts.
Coming back, and then on certain days, my wife would then go out to work, and I would be looking after Barney as best I could with very much sleep.
How old's Barney now?
Now he's 3.5, so I guess at that time he would have been like 2.5 to 3. 2.
So you need a lot of energy for that.
Well, I tried. I really did. And he's a very, this sounds negative, but I would not change him for the world, but he's very energetic.
Yeah.
And he just loves life.
But it goes back to what you were saying, what you were like as a child as well.
Yeah.
So there it is.
Exactly,
so
he is basically
listening,
just
it's your fault,
me.
David.
It's my fault. Yeah. She knows. She knows. But yeah, so yeah, it's a totally different adjustment. I have my own... especially in terms of training and stuff like that. Really, apart from the show, I don't have to suit anyone else.
Yeah.
So that I do go home at weekends. So like Saturday night the show finishes, I'll try and get home as quickly as I can, get as much sleep as I can, and then I'm on the first train on a Sunday back to Cheshire.
Wow. Do
like 24 hours at home, and then come straight back and go to work. So that's the only time really that is not quote unquote mine. But yeah, then other than that, I can just train in whatever I want. It was interesting though because of being employed and really having to stay the way that I was when I was employed, weight loss for the first time hasn't been like my primary goal for training.
Okay.
So I wasn't really sure what to do about it, whether to sort of like not worry too much because the show's physical enough that it would kind of keep me ticking over, I guess. But then I was like, well, if I'm using all these calories to stay at maintenance, I should be using those calories to build muscle and get stronger and enjoy training, which I do, and not have to do it and be in a deficit and feel like I'm like pushing myself to have more energy.
Do you think you could do the show and train in the deficit you were in?
I probably could, but
probably not for the best.
It would be hard.
Yeah.
It would be tough. But the other thing is as well is that I used to train 5-6 times a week. And now I don't do that. That's another thing of like, I work with someone and they were very much like, well, you're doing the show. You only really need to do 3 full body days a week. And I was like, okay, that's not...
Well, it's probably a jar for you having...
Yeah.
Well, you're doing split days as well.
Yeah, like push-pull legs, push-pull legs, basically.
Now going into 3 full body workouts.
Yeah.
Plus the show.
Yeah, and also, I changed from powerlifting, which is like short, explosive movements for low reps, for, you know, like big rests and stuff like that. And now we're working at just generally time under tension and more
strength building.
Yeah, and building my like engine, building my cardiovascular like capability, my capacity. So it's like a whole different type of training, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
But I was very humbled at the beginning. I was like, wow. I looked at the numbers.
Different set of like muscles, different, as you say, like cardiovascular.
Yeah, and just we're working on like slow negatives and stuff like that.
Okay,
so like the numbers, my head is like, this is fine. Like 50 kilos on a bench press is not heavy.
Yeah,
but it is.
Yeah,
it's when you're doing that with it.
What's the rep count now then? So I guess you were doing low reps.
I was doing like multiple like 7 sets of 2 or 3 or whatever.
Right.
Now I'm doing heavier, like 70, 80 kilos or whatever. And then which is, I know is not heavy, by the way, but for me,
I'm not gonna lie, it is extremely heavy for me.
But now it's more like we'll do 2 sets at like a working set, but it'll be like 1 count up, 1 count hold, 2 counts down.
Right. So
like focus on controlling the negative, and then there'll be like 2 more sets of a slightly heavier weight. So it'll be 12 reps and then 8 to 10 reps usually.
Yeah.
So
You're enjoying it?
Like,
the new training block?
Yeah, totally.
And how long do you think this training block will go?
So we're currently, I think I'm only programmed for 6 weeks, but we'll just
keep going with it.
Yeah, I think so.
And do you think eventually, when you get used to that routine of training the 3 days a week, doing the shows, getting home to see Soph and Barn and the dog, and
Chip.
And would you like to go back into the journey you were on before with weight loss and stuff?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I feel like I could probably lose a little bit of weight and still absolutely them not be upset about it, and like and I guess it would probably...
It's hard when you're on a show as well, isn't it, because of the costumes and all these
totally things. And you know, they're really supportive from that side of it, like particularly wardrobe department are grand. You just obviously don't want to be changing the way you look to the point where, because like very specifically my character is supposed to be like an archetypal opera singer, like the Pavarotti sort of type. So you don't want to then be like not giving them what you were when you arrived as a product. But to a degree, there's a lot of stairs that we have to run up and down, you know what I mean? There's a lot of like, just in terms of the actual day-to-day and making the show easier for me and me more capable to do it, it probably wouldn't hurt to lose a few pounds. But yeah, I think after that, it would definitely be...
So I think something that I find very inspiring about yourself, David, is that within your weight loss journey you did before, was a lot of it was like off the scale stuff, wasn't it? And like, I still find that the world of fitness, I love it. I've always loved sport. I've always loved fitness. I'm a bit obsessed with most things within that world. But the way that you would speak about weight loss was incredible. Genuinely,
Thank you.
The stuff, content you post with your shirts that maybe once didn't fit, and now that things that do fit, or even things like we'll go into YouTube. With Soph, things like, was it not? There's not a ride when you. Yeah,
Flight of Passage at Walt Disney World, which is like their Avatar sort of simulator. Yeah, I tried to get on that. I think I tried to get on that twice, and it just wouldn't fit. And like at first, I didn't realize, and there have been people who have posted about it and be like, this is the way to sit on the thing so that it will close and whatever. And I was like, fine, I'll probably be all right. And it just did. Like, I tried and it didn't, and it was very embarrassing. They were great about it, but you know. And then the last time that we went, I was able to ride it, and it was awesome. It was emotional.
Yeah.
For like,
well, it's that green tick of hard work.
Yeah.
And I think when you when people share things like that, rather than, and there's a place for this, but rather than get your beach bod, whatever that is, get your 6-pack abs, get toned, get cut this, there's pros to everything, like, because everyone's got their different journey with 100%. Fitness and stuff. As I say, I love fitness, but I'm not Mr. Olympia. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And I probably,
I not,
and I never will be. But I equally will never be world's strongest man. But it's like, I think I have respect for every single journey you go on, and the way that people talk about like diet culture and all these things. We can go into that as a whole podcast in itself.
Yeah, totally.
But I think the way that you champion just everyday health and fitness, and health, fitness, and lifestyle is just really, it's just beautiful.
Thank you, man.
And I mean that it's brilliant, the content you put up.
That really means a lot.
Yeah.
I think for me, like what am I trying to say? I feel like those goals of like get a 6-pack and all that kind of stuff are absolutely valid. They're great. They've just never been enough for me to want to like do the work to do that. So things that are like intrinsic motivations for me, Barney having a good relationship with food and fitness, Barney having fitness as a part of his life and not thinking, oh, now we have to go on a walk or whatever, blah blah blah. It's just being a part of his life, and he's runs around all the time and stuff. So as long as we can be fit enough to keep up with him and do all those things with him, he's never going to notice, and he's never going to have to think like I have to go on a fitness regime now or whatever.
And if he does choose to,
then
that's something that's different. I've always said that if and when I'm able to have children, that I'd like them to be sporty.
Yeah.
However, that's from my passion in sport. But my wife always jokes about going, yeah, but they'll be my kids too.
Yeah.
And this is a quote directly from her. I'm not just saying this. This is from her, that she has 85-year-old knees in a 28-year-old woman's body.
Right.
Which is the fact that I go and run. I love running. I'm in the middle of running a half marathon training just now, and I love it. And she would always go, right, you know what, I'll go on the bike.
Right.
Type of thing, yeah. Which is great. But the fact that she can do that, and she swims and she does that, and she's a fit person.
Yeah.
But she makes jokes when I'm like, I'd love our kids to go into sport. I'd love, maybe not professionally, but I'd love to be into sport. And then she always goes, yeah, but I've never been into sport.
Yeah.
Except
well,
swimming.
you say that,
Except
but
swimming.
then she's doing all those things with you, just not
thing,
running.
Yeah.
You're still swimming and biking, and that's very active pursuits that you're doing. Is.
And she also works with children about Barney's age, so again the energy's always there and stuff.
Yeah.
So we will see whatever the future holds. Who knows?
It's just about giving them all the options.
And
do you know what I mean?
I think that's important as well. And if that's your why, that's all that matters. And it's finding your why is something that I've discovered in the last 2-3 months. But what is the why that I want to do in multiple things in life? So YouTube.
Yeah.
Let's dive into that. See what we can get. How did that become a thing?
Like right at the very start, randomly, well, not randomly, but interestingly, as what we've been talking about, I started making YouTube videos because of like weight loss, really.
Right.
I wanted to sort of just document it, but also like no one in my life really. I was at college, or I was leaving college at that time. Everyone was dancers and stuff, and of course, I'm sure there were many people who had body image issues and all that kind of stuff, but in my head I was like the only really big person in my year, so I just assumed that they were all super happy. No one was talking about it, so I didn't really feel like I had many people in my life that I could really have conversations about like weight loss or what the right things to eat were, or training and all that kind of stuff. It just wasn't really in my circle of people, so I started the YouTube channel and for community, really. And there was like a small community at that time. Obviously now it's much bigger, and there's like mad influencers who've got like crazy numbers, some of whom I have been following for a very long time, and like my friend John, Obese to Beast, you don't know if you've seen him.
I don't know him.
He's amazing. He's lost a ton of weight, and anyway, but kind of then the reason that it stuck as a thing is that I met Soph, because she also made videos.
Right. Did you meet? Is that how you met?
We met on YouTube. Yeah.
That's insane.
It's wild, isn't it?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we
That's amazing.
We sort of struck up a friendship, and then we met up, and like, yeah, just fell in love over time. So that was cool. And then she had been making videos about different things, about her different passions and stuff over the years. And then we kind of knew that we wanted to, I should probably go back actually. Soph did like an internship at Walt Disney World. Right. Loved it. Decided she was going to take me. I'm not a theme park person, or I didn't think I was a theme park person for a very, very long time. And so I was like, I don't think this is a good idea. She's like, no, I'm going to take you. And I was like, I really don't think this is going to be a good idea. I loved it. It was amazing.
Were you a Disney person?
I was after that trip.
Okay, yeah.
So like, but I'd never been. I think I went to Paris once, but I went on a school trip. I didn't really know anyone on it. It was mainly people in the year below me that went. Yeah. And everything was closed. It was like not very good weather. We were in Paris, actual Paris first before we went to I had like a burger, and it was like, they cook their burgers really rare there. Yeah. So I just was like, I had a horrible time basically.
Yeah. So it scarred you.
Yeah, scarred me and I was like, no, I'm not going to enjoy it. It's going to be horrible. But it ended up being amazing. And so then we had like a big gap between that trip and then being able to go back. And Soph surprised me for my birthday, and we were going to go. And we decided that we wanted to kind of vlog it just for the sake of it, because for memories and stuff, but also we like making YouTube videos, and we love Disney World. Yeah. And it really wasn't, now it's a huge thing that people vlog their Disney trips and stuff like that. But back then it kind of wasn't really, certainly nearly as big as it is now. And so, we started the channel just before that to get us into the swing of making those types of more like vloggy day in the life type videos.
That lifestyle stuff, isn't it?
I think the first video we ever made, we just went to see Moana at the cinema when it came out. Yeah. And then we did that trip, and it seemed to do really well. And then the following year, a couple of years later, we went, I think it was 2 years later, we went back for our honeymoon, and people seemed to love that series, and it sort of like launched our channel into,
it's madness,
like,
isn't it?
yeah.
And we're
not like the biggest channel or anything, like for us.
You've got what?
I think we've got about 40K.
That is. I know it's not millions.
It's not. That's the thing.
That's
like
40,000 people tuning in to watch.
Yeah,
your
and
life.
We're very lucky. Like, I've met a lot of those people, from touring and from like people come and see the show now and stuff. And I've literally never met someone who's not been the nicest person. It's amazing.
But I think that's also with the nature of your videos. You're both very nice people. I've never met Soph, but you both radiate.
Thank you.
You're definitely radiators rather than drains, You're,
oh my God, I've never heard that before.
Have you
That's
not?
So good.
That is a mantra for me.
That's so cool.
People radiate life and people drain.
Yeah.
I like to think that I'm a bit of both at times. Depending what day it is.
I've never known you to be a drain. ever.
But it is that thing of, you both radiate, the videos just radiate joy and happiness, and
thank you.
I'm sure there is arguments, I'm sure there is disagreements. Because it happens, that's also life.
Of course.
But the content wise, it's just nice to see. It's joyful, it's everything. So it doesn't surprise me that people that want to tune into that stuff are also nice people.
Thank you. Yeah. Like I say, we're very lucky that people do. And also that people will then be kind enough to want to go out of their way to not only come and see a show or whatever, but then hang around at stage door and say hi and just again be really, really nice. So it's afforded us a lot of nice experiences, and like when we're there, it's like when we've met the most amount of people, because like we all have this shared passion of Disney World. And we happen to be there when people are there as well, so that's very cool.
You've taken Barn now as well, haven't you?
We have taken Barn a couple of times, yeah. And there was one time that Soph was flown out by Disney on like a trip where they filmed her and stuff. I was supposed to go as well, but then I booked Phantom, and it was rehearsals.
Oh no!
Which it's such a nice problem to have. But I was like, Of course I can't go.
Was that his first time going as well?
No,
you'd had the first
been
time
before,
yeah.
but like they had these amazing experiences of like they went before the park opens. It was like only them and Mickey.
I don't know if that's scary.
Nah, I think it's cool.
I mean, it'd be cool.
Yeah,
but like, there's times to like, have you ever like being in a theatre by yourself is actually terrifying.
I guess if you're, I used to work on stage door at the Duchess, and I used to open the theatre, and it was, I like, there was one chain on a door that I'd have to take off through the auditorium, and I would literally run through that auditorium and run back, because it was like, give me the heebie-jeebies, big time.
But you just hear all these things about ghosts and like, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's just like, and then it's in your head.
Yeah.
So you then hear things, even though it's probably the tube.
Totally. But almost definitely the tube.
Yeah. But the Disney World stuff, so they were by themselves essentially.
Essentially, although they had like the whole team, they had like a professional photographer who came and did all like, because they were filming for their socials, so they had like an insane camera and an amazing videographer and stuff like that. And also, whilst the park is closed, they've got loads of people working on it and stuff. I mean, I don't know how much you know, but they do things like as soon as the park closes at night, they'll have like overnight cleaning staff, so they clean it all night. That's why it always looks so clean. There's like, it's never really shut. It's just that there's no guests in the park. It's like closed to the public. Yeah, exactly. That's insane. So yeah, it wouldn't be super creepy. It's huge as well, isn't it? Yeah, wild. I think it's. Did I see somewhere that it's like bigger than Manhattan, the Magic Kingdom? It's like it's incredible. Mental. That's insane. So yeah, I've never been. I've been to Paris. Right. I think I've been 3 times to Paris, but I've never been to the States. Yeah, we're going to California for the first time this year. Wow. To the original park, so that's going to be really cool. But and will there be a vlog for that one? Oh yeah, most definitely. Oh yeah, and is Barn going to that one? Oh yeah, yeah, totally. So yeah, we're excited about that. It's not as big, so we're not going to be there for as long. But I think we're going to do like 4 days there. Well, 4 days at Disney, and then a few days in California. It's amazing. It is that, as I say, the content that comes out of it's incredible, and you too, as I say, you really thank you so much. It's fantastic. We just feel like goofballs, and we're very much like, I think, and luckily for us, I think this is why people like it. It's just that we literally are just like so dumbfounded by how awesome it is, and we literally just film ourselves geeking out over stuff. How do you find it? Obviously, there's now a community of people who film and vlog and YouTubers and all these things, but even now, I think if people are taking pictures in the street, wherever you are, if you're like in London, there's tourists everywhere and stuff, and that's fine, and it's great. But like, people still go and look and want to see. So when you're, I don't know, doing a direct address to camera, or so for yourself as carrying the camera, and one of you are chatting to each other, how do you just do it and just ignore it? Or I think a lot of it depends on your setup. If a lot of people will just film, because iPhones now have amazing cameras. If you just do it on your iPhone, it just looks like you're FaceTiming, or do you know what I mean? Like, people won't really look twice. Yeah. And if they've got to be pretty observant to realize the type of talking to camera that you're doing. That's true. Yeah. Also, I mean, in Disney, everyone does it. Like, literally, like, it's such a thing. And even the people that don't do it, I think, just expect it because so many people do it. So in a weird way, in Disney, it's much easier than anywhere else. I also just think, like, I am dumb. I am goofy. Like, if you think I'm goofy because I'm talking to the camera, I am talking to the camera. So yeah, whatever. I think that's like, it goes back to what I was saying about your content on and social media and stuff like that. Is that it's just about being yourself, isn't it? Yeah. And just like, I mean, I've spent so much time over the years, as I'm sure we all have, thinking about what other people think of me, and I'm just like, I just don't care. Yeah. Don't have the time for it anymore. Good. And just live your life. Yeah, exactly. And I think, and whenever I see anyone else who's doing something that you can just say like that person's enjoying their life or whatever, I'm always like, good on you. Yeah. Go on yourself. Do you know what I mean? It's good. I think that's something that I think YouTube and actually a lot of influencers now as well. There's a lot of like lifestyle influencers and stuff and self-development shows that I think that a lot of people are doing that now. A lot of people are going, life's too short. We've only got, realistically 80 odd years. Yeah. Let's go with an average. Yeah.
on this planet. Recently,
Might as well enjoy them.
Recently, probably not as many.
Yeah.
But to be lighthearted, it's like you might as well enjoy them and go for it. And it's something that I'm definitely trying to get better at. Hence why we're here.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think you are a real driving force for that. And I think that's it's great.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Like it means a lot that's what you've been able to take away from that.
Yeah.
So thank you.
So before we wrap up,
Use.
I'm going to try something with this.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you 2 questions.
Okay.
First question, they're very similar. The first question is, let's go back 10, 15, even 20 years. What would you say to young David?
10, 15, 20, that's what, 21-ish probably, like, yeah. Don't try and be anything other than yourself. Like, yeah. I really, like, and I feel like more and more, even now, I just, like, you think, especially for acting and stuff, but just generally in life, you think that people want you to be a thing, so you try and be that thing more. And, like, it never usually serves you to try and be fitting yourself into someone else's mold. And B, if people don't want you to be you in your life, they're probably not the right people to be around.
So you get them done.
So yeah, just like, well, but they can take you or leave you. You don't have to necessarily be like, get out of my life, but you just be like, well, no, this is who I am.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And I think a lot of people will respect that.
You'd hope so, but if they don't, then they're not worth your time.
It's also okay. Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They can go and be with someone else who wants to fit their mold or is the thing that they are looking for in their life, and that's fine. But yeah, and it's easier said than done as well.
Of course, yeah.
Especially if you do it over many years. But I in terms of acting and stuff, I've always now found that the times where I've been the most myself have been the times where they've been like, oh, that's something that we're looking for.
Yeah, great. And I think this is a harder question to answer, but it's in the same vein.
Okay.
10, 15 years in the future, what would you say? What do you want to be able to say to David?
Stop stressing as much. It'll all be all right.
This too shall pass.
Yeah, this too shall pass. Yeah. You're enough. God, I'm gonna get emotional.
That's all right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think those things. Just like enjoy all the moments where they're at. Like we're all, looking to make the best life for ourselves, the best life for our kids, or whatever. It can be really easy to not enjoy the amazing things that are going on in life. So I think, smell the roses.
Yeah.
Take a breath and smell the roses.
Yeah. David, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
And hopefully we can do this again in the future and see where we're at.
Anytime. 10, 15 years.
10, 15 years.
And
I'll be like,
that,
you said
that
this,
thing what I said, I was
it's a
right.
lie. No. But yes, thank you to the listeners for tuning in. Like and subscribe. And David, just before you go, where can we follow you to keep in touch with yourself?
So the YouTube is Sophie and Dave, and I think everywhere else I'm the Dave Monster in some shape or form, if it's got underscores or not. But yeah, if you search the Dave Monster, I'll probably be there.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.